Welcome to Move Your Mind. My name's Nick Bracks, and this is a podcast where we have real conversations with real people and give real advice. I'm really excited to share this latest episode. We spoke with Sarah Jeffery, and she opened up about her own mental health. She showed a lot of vulnerability, and I took so much out of this. I'm sure you guys will too. Sarah's a Canadian actress, singer, and dancer. She has acted alongside big names such as Jennifer Lopez, Matt Dillon, and Thandie Newton. She headlined Disney's franchise Descendants, and she's currently the lead actress on CW Network's Charmed. I also want to say a huge thank you to our sponsor John Holland for doing all the amazing work they do in mental health and getting behind this podcast. This episode was produced and edited by Tim Buzard. I hope you enjoy. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on my new podcast, Move Your Mind. I've met you briefly, I think it was about a year and a half ago when I was first in Vancouver, but it's so great to have this opportunity to have a chat to you, and just want to say I really, really appreciate you coming on.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. I'm honored and glad that you've reached out. I know it's so weird. We very briefly met each other, but we've probably chatted more now on through a computer than in real life.
It's crazy. I mean, that's been the best thing about doing this podcast. I've been reaching out to people from so many different walks of life, and you get to have all these really interesting conversations and connect with people that you wouldn't be otherwise. So
it's
been great. But yeah, so what have you been up to at the moment?
Well, I like yourself. I'm with my parents right now. I'm at my family. Mm-hmm. My family home in Vancouver, and honestly, I'm just taking this time to indulge myself and do the things that I normally don't have time to do because of my schedule. So lots of reading, lots of just picking up random hobbies like embroidering and spending time with my dog, spending time with my parents, and have been trying to consistently meditate. That's one thing that I'm trying to make a habit so that it carries into when I'm busy as well. Just find the time for that.
Massively.
Yeah. But that's, otherwise just kind of Netflix and exercise, the usual.
The usual, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's it is a good, like you're saying, I think it's such a good, I was talking about this the other day, we've got this time now where you can, like you're saying with meditation, trying to use this time to create that habit, we've got this time. So if we can think forward and think, well, what are some things that are going to help me, in the future when I'm busy again? And if you can really use all the free time to create that habit, then it is something that can be so beneficial.
Yeah, I think if you can implement it now and get in the hang of it, and it will become a habit. And I don't know, sometimes when I'm busy, I just, you want to do those things, but it just kind of passes you by. I don't know, even little things like my skincare routine, things that are my me time, the meditation, reading at least 10 books or 10 pages of a book a day, just little things like that I hope to carry through to my normal schedule whenever that happens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can imagine your normal schedule's pretty busy, but it is it's so hard to unless we have something that becomes a habit as much as sleeping, eating, whatever we normally do. It's just so hard in day-to-day life. We get so many things thrown at us, and I guess with how the world is now as well, it's we're consumed with information, and it's so fast-paced that it's so important that we make that time for ourselves to just take that time out. Otherwise, it's so easy to get burnt out.
Yeah, it's hard to digest everything. I'm finding it really hard,
overwhelming.
There's just so much going on in so many different areas of life. It's hard to metabolize it all. At least I'm finding it difficult. And just giving myself permission to time out has been really important. Because I do want to be vocal about, what I believe in and the things that are going on. But I also, keeping my own mental health in mind, think it's important to pump the brakes when it's becoming too much.
I think you have to. I think, there's, this is a pretty unprecedented time in, in the world right now, and there is so many things going on. And I know if I watch too much news or listen to too many things, it will overwhelm me. So I think it's
Absolutely.
being, digesting the information you need, but then really taking that time out to be able to just have that time to yourself and not be because it will just it's too much. It's too much.
It is too much. I don't know how any one person could handle it all. It's emotionally draining. It's, mentally draining. It's difficult. So definitely important to prioritize yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was going to ask if you could give us, we normally ask the guests to give a little background on sort of your past, how you got to where you are now. And it doesn't have to be, I know you've done a huge amount, so it doesn't have to be just a bit of an overview of sort of how you got to where you are now, basically.
Yeah, well, I have always been heavily involved in the arts. My family is very artistic, and I feel like it was always going to be something I pursued. I started dancing when I was 3 years old and continued to dance up until I graduated from high school. So that was a massive, massive part of my life, and it still is. But the way it actually happened was I thought I wanted to be a nurse. And I didn't grow up with a lot of money, so I knew that I had to make the money to go to school myself and work really hard. And I thought, there's a decent film industry in Vancouver. Maybe I could get a couple commercials or something. Maybe I could book a little something to finance my education. And it kind of just stuck. I was lucky enough to book a series regular when I was, I think, 15 turning 16. And I don't know how, but it's just been nonstop ever since. And I obviously am not pursuing a nursing career, but I think this is what I'm meant to do. I just can't imagine not doing it. I really can't. It's like it's part of my tapestry. It feels like it's just what was meant to happen. So that's how I am where I am, I guess.
Yeah, amazing. And it's pretty incredible that, from such a young age, you wanted to, be in this industry, and you've been able to make that happen. I mean, not a lot of people are able to pull that off. And
it's really wild. I never lose sight of the fact that I'm very lucky because, people like to say it's luck, but I recognize that it's luck and it's hard work and talent. Like it's a combination of both, but I never forget that it's hugely luck. And I just feel very blessed that somehow this is where I ended up.
Yeah, and I think it's exactly what you said. It's sort of luck a lot of the time, is created by yourself. It's by putting yourself out there, by having that vision, by working hard. So it's sort of everything has to come together for opportunities to arise. So it's
exactly, a lot of different ingredients have to go into it to make it happen. So yeah. And I read, I've been looking up some of the work you've done. I mean, I was like, wow, at such a young age, you've been in a lot of things. And I read, you're on a show with Jennifer Lopez, Dillon, Thandie Newton, all these people that these actors that I've grown up watching. I was like, bloody hell. It's
has
quite...
it been?
Yeah,
is it sort of a bit of a whirlwind? Like, do you sometimes sit there and think, how did this all? This is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I have those moments frequently. I mean, absolutely. When I got the audition for Shades of Blue, I was like, what a far shot from. I just didn't see that coming into fruition, and then to be in the final rounds and to be reading with her was, of course, very surreal. And to be working with her every day was not only surreal, but a real treat because she's someone who has the most incredible work ethic. And it was really something special to witness and to sort of just glean advice from. And of course, Tani Newton, I have only incredible things to say about her. I feel very blessed that she was the first person that I really worked with, I guess, in a big capacity. She was on the show I did called Rogue, and she was the lead, and I played her daughter. And to have your first introduction into the business be with someone who is so gracious and and lovely and kind and just genuinely a good person, but also super firm and what she believes in and what she wants, was just like, I couldn't have asked for a better first experience. Like, she's just such a wonderful person in all aspects. And she wasn't afraid to say no, or she was patient with me when I was learning how to hit my mark and when I was missing my mark and little things like this and that. So yeah, she's someone I'm hugely grateful for and still keeping in contact with a little bit.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it's so to be, firm in just who you are and how you want to sort of carry yourself in this industry that you're in is so important, because it's an industry where you can get pulled a million ways and you can have so many pressures, and I think it's just so critical that you can, be able to just be comfortable. You need to really be comfortable with yourself to be able to go and do,
absolutely.
speak for what you think is right, and how you want to, what messages you want to put out in the world. And
agreed. It's
so important.
I mean, for myself, that was definitely because I started out at such a young age. I was in my, formative years when I started. It was challenging for me to put my foot down or use my voice or say, I'm not comfortable with that, or I am comfortable with this. But as time has gone on, I've definitely felt more empowered. There's so much in the entertainment business that has improved. We obviously have a far way to go, but with really powerful, incredible women like Thandie just showing what it means to stand up for yourself, it's like I feel empowered to stand up for myself, and I feel like I can, I feel like my backbone is stronger now, and you just really, really do have to be your own advocate, because no one else is going to do that for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize as well if I think I said Thandie Newton. If it's Thandie,
I didn't even.
I apologize if I've said her name wrong.
No, I didn't even notice. But her name's Thandie. That's a common error.
Okay, Thandie probably won't hear this, but if you ever do, I apologize for saying your name wrong. But that was, it was what I was going to ask you about. I've seen that you're, quite vocal in standing up for causes you believe in. How important do you think it is for people that, like yourself, that have a platform, that is used, for the greater good? And in addition to that, what are some of the causes that, you really believe in and that you're vocal about?
So, yeah, I as a person with a platform, I strongly believe that is your duty. And I am passionate about a lot of things, including animal rights and standing up for people of color, injustices anywhere, the LGBTQ community, mental health. These are all things that have personally affected me, and I just think what a shame it would be to waste an opportunity to open someone's eyes or educate someone when you do have the opportunity to. Like, I have a decent amount of followers, and if I can change one person's mind, or if I can enlighten someone in a way, I mean, like, why wouldn't I, So yeah, I definitely hope to continue being vocal about the things that I am passionate about, and be a voice for the people who don't necessarily have one.
Absolutely. And congratulations on doing that as well, because
Thank
I think it's you are, and I can tell talking to you, I mean, you're at such a young age. It's pretty incredible to have, you seem very grounded. I mean, I don't know you, just from this conversation,
Thank you.
You seem like you're very grounded, and what
Thank
I've looked, when I was researching, it's not that common to, have that kind of wisdom at that age. But it is so important, and I love what you said as well, and I say this in all of the talks I do about mental health, that if it can just help one person, then it's been worth it.
Absolutely. I so believe that, and that's something that I really admire, all the work you do for mental health. I think it's incredible. That's something I want to dive into more. Whether it's the right opportunity presents itself at the right time, or I mean, it's always the right time, and I am vocal about it, but I want to do more, and I struggle with severe OCD, and that's one thing that I really want to tackle and dismantle is the perception of OCD. You know, in mainstream media as well, it's kind of used as this like a catchphrase or a buzzword, and that's a thing that I am very passionate about, and if my messages can help one person and get one person through a hard day, then it's worth it.
And I'm sure they will and can and have, and you know, like you said, there's so many, mental health is so complicated, and there's so many different you know, different issues people have or different things to deal with, and there's not enough, we're not educated about it, we're not taught in school, we're not taught in mainstream media, like you're saying, things like OCD. It's used in a very throwaway sort of way that, oh, I've just had a bit of OCD today. The same as me. I've had so much OCD growing up, and it's something I have to manage, where I'll find if I'm not self-aware enough or not, you know, looking after myself, I can fixate on things, and you know, it's a hard thing to manage. And I think a lot of people that are you know, in entertainment, in creative sort of industries, we have that kind of mind, because that's part of what also makes you good at being. That's what makes you creative. Exactly.
Yeah, so, I mean, my mind is. I like an OCD to kind of being like allergic to life, because I feel like there are triggers just everywhere I look. But it's also like my mind is so open to so many insane possibilities that it's also what makes me, I don't know, it's what makes me creative, I guess.
Absolutely. No, 100%. I think, you know, it needs to be, and I used to get so frustrated with how my mind worked, because so many things, there's certain things that people, you know, everyday things that for most people that you wouldn't, you know, give it a second thought, and they will just be incredibly difficult for me. And then on the same token, things that some people would be like, I don't know how you can do that. It's like, well, that's, you know, you don't even have to think about that. So it's like this, I think you learn to say, you know, the looking at it that, that the, you know, you wouldn't have the positive without the negative, and you become grateful for having that, because it gives you the other, you know, totally, abilities that you have. But then it comes down to, how do I manage this, and how do I understand it more? And I think, you know, it's so important that we have people like you vocalizing that, because there just is not enough education about this. It's insane that we're not.
Yeah, I mean, likewise, yeah. I agree. I'm personally affected the most by OCD, but I know that there's so many other issues out there, so many more disorders out there that are, you know, misconstrued in the media, or we just don't have enough information. And I just think we could really change people's lives by educating, because, you know, I at first didn't know what was going on with me when I was young and I had OCD. I had no idea. I was confused. I thought I was going crazy, and then to know and to learn that there's a name for what I was going through was huge. And I still am trying to find constantly trying to find a community of people who are also going through the same thing as me. So that's why I like to put it out there that, you know, yeah, OCD is a big struggle for me, because I know it affects a lot of people, and I just want them to know that they're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big part of it, you know, it's just being, and a huge part of what I'm trying to do with all of this is just literally just show people that it's okay to be vulnerable and be honest and open. And I mean, I guess, has that been, in the position you're in, is that difficult to, or has that been a scary thing to do? Because I guess a lot of people are told wrongly that, whether it's, you know, whether you're an actor or whether you're in a corporate job or whatever it is, that, oh, don't ever talk about anything personal, because then people might not want to hire you, or they might not take you serious. You know, they might see you as a liability, which it just infuriates me, because everyone has different problems.
And
yeah,
the
absolutely.
way they're looked at, this is just part of life.
Like, it really is. Yeah, no, I mean, to your point, I At first, I've struggled since I was young, so going into the entertainment industry, I was struggling, and I think at first there was this like, it was heavily stigmatized, and I didn't know whether to speak up about it, but it's such a huge part of my life. I wanted to, but I was like, does this mean that I don't book the next job that I go out for? Does this mean that people are judging me? Does this mean that when I get to set, I'll have eyeballs on me, people waiting for me to like have a breakdown? I don't know. But I will say that as time has gone on, I do feel like while it's still a massive issue, there is a little bit less of a stigma. I don't know if it's less of a stigma, but I notice an openness in talking about it, and that's kind of encouraged me to be vocal about it myself. And it's something that I don't want to have to hide. It's a part of my life, and it's also what informs my acting. Like, I think that I am the actor I am and the artist I am because of that. It's such a huge part of me. I just don't see how it's possible to like not talk about it.
Exactly, and you don't have one without the other, and it's just and I think like you're saying, there's a lot more awareness about this stuff now, but there's also it's got a long way to go, and we need to have more education now and more actual practical ways to deal with it. It's great to have awareness, but then it's like, okay, people need like you're saying, to be able to, how do we connect with other people? How do we try and understand them? How do we try and support each other when we are struggling with whatever it is? It's really, really important.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
So currently, what's your focus career-wise? I think before we started this, you were telling me you've had a bit of a delay with going back to work because of everything happening with COVID. What are you? What's the current sort of movement? Is it going back to film on Charmed? Is that the
yeah, so that's the goal. I mean, eventually, hopefully we go back sooner than later. I know that, I mean, I would be surprised if we didn't start before the end of 2020, but who really knows? I think things are constantly evolving and changing, and we're getting new information and we don't know what to believe, so it's just hard to navigate. But that is the goal, is to get back to Charmed ASAP. And then I guess during this quarantine COVID situation, it's given me an opportunity to focus a little bit on music, which is something I've always been passionate about. I just didn't have maybe the right opportunities or the time to dive into it. But an opportunity presented itself to me, I think halfway through 2019. This group, Rock Mafia, asked if I wanted to work with them, and I had worked with them before on a Disney film, and they're wonderful, and they've done so much and are so successful in the music industry. It seemed like it was a no-brainer for me to work with them. And so I had recorded some tracks back in like November, and then it kind of ended up working out perfectly because we had these tracks that we were sitting on, and then COVID happened, and I was like, oh, we could do something with this. We could release this in this hard time. And, the song, it's called Even the Stars. It kind of is in line with what's happening, how you have to have dark times to have the good times and appreciate them, and peaks and valleys. And so we actually shot a very socially distanced music video and kind of like got it all done real quick and released the song. So quarantine has given me the opportunity to dive into my music career, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, amazing. And it was I was going to ask you about it because I saw how you were able to film that during this period, and the lyrics, it's so timely, and I think it's such a fantastic thing that you can release that during this period, because people need it. People need positive messages, and they need nice things to
I know
have out in the world, not
some
just
nice
negativity.
things. For sure. We did shoot it during quarantine. I will say that Vancouver is a little better off, a lot better off than like LA and a lot of the US, but it was still such a unique experience doing it with masks and face shields and gloves and completely distanced and very small crew and so much hand sanitizer and hand washing stations. It was kind of a trial run, I think, for what it's going to look like when Hollywood sort of fully opens up. Because I anticipate that there will be a lot of protocols. And, you know, but rightfully so. I think the main thing was they wanted everyone to feel safe, and I felt safe. So it was great, but I'm really happy we got it done because, like you said, it's important to bring some levity to life right now, and hopefully it reaches at least a few people and brings some smiles to people's faces. So yeah, that it kind of just worked out, I think, timing wise.
Yeah, and it looks like it's already reached a lot of people, and I had seen from which another thing I wanted to ask you about how it's been being part of the Descendants, and it's been such a, I mean, something that's been so successful as well. You've made 3 of them, and you had a hit song from was it the previous one where
it was the last one, the third movie, yeah.
The third one, yeah. How's that experience been being part of something so successful like that? I mean,
it's been really,
did you expect
really
it to be
special.
that successful, I guess?
No, I didn't. I mean, I auditioned back when I was, I don't know, I must have been 18 maybe. For the first one, 17. I'm 24 now, and it just feels like such a lifetime ago. I you know, when you audition for something, you don't know what it's really gonna be. It's just like you don't know who's attached to it. But I did know, like, I've idolized Kenny Ortega, who was the director and kind of the mastermind of it, for a long time, and I knew that, you know, when I was walking into the audition room and working the scenes with him, that it was a very rare opportunity, and it did end up being just the most incredible opportunity. It's got such a big fan base, and they're so damn dedicated and like loving and supportive. They're largely responsible for my fan base, which is like, it's a huge gift because I obviously wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without a fan base. But yeah, I guess the best thing about those movies is the family I made, really. There are so many special people that I've met through it, and it's something that like has definitely shaped my life. Like it changed my life for sure. Yeah, it was a really special experience. I feel very lucky.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, I can imagine, and from, you know, such a young age, I guess it's really formed a lot of where your career's gone, and you know, it's pretty special thing to be part of that. And I'd also read, and I hope this isn't, you know, off topic to ask about. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, but I'd read about one of your cast members that passed away. That must have been.
Yeah, that was.
I can't even imagine, but yeah, it must have been a pretty.
I mean, it was. It's undoubtedly the hardest thing I've gone through. It's horrible to lose someone, but losing Cameron was like earth-shattering for everyone who knew him, and even the people who didn't. He had such a huge fan base and still does, and it shattered so many people. And that was just something that I could have, it seems wrong. It's just, I have no other words except it's just wrong. It feels like we were robbed of one of the most incredible gifts. But in the same token, in the same breath, I'm so lucky to have known him for the time I did. It's just a huge blessing, and I will always carry him with me and, you know, cherish the memories that we have. And we're all family, so it's been nice to have a community of people who are, you know, able to provide comfort and reflect on how special he was.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's so important to have that, and I guess it reminds you how important it is to have, you know, good people in your life, family, good friends,
absolutely,
right people around you. It's the most important thing, and I think, you know, also during this time, you know, during this COVID sort of period, it's reminded me that just coming home, I've got a really sick uncle, and he's like I'm so close to him, and just being with the family, being able to see them, see my friends, it reminds you that at the end of the day, that's what matters. That is really the fundamental thing.
It really is. I'm feeling the same. Even just being with my family now and having time to just talk and be there with each other has been really special. And yeah, it's just really something like that just really reminds you that life is so fragile, and you just have to hug the people you love and tell them you love them. And sort of back to the, being vocal about causes, I think something worth mentioning is awareness about epilepsy. And that's what Cameron passed from, I believe, complications. And there's just not enough information out there. There's not enough knowledge out there. And I encourage anyone who's listening to go check out the Cameron Boyce Foundation and No Suit Up, which is sudden, unexpected death by epilepsy. Yeah, so just really educating yourself. If you have anyone in your family or your friends who has epilepsy, what you can do if someone's having a seizure, or, how to just support them. And hopefully, through the Cameron Boyce Foundation, they've been trying to raise money for research. And yeah, I just think that's incredibly important. It's just not talked about enough. So there's another example of something that I hope to advocate for.
Absolutely, yeah. Something so close to you. And it is, so important that it just goes back to what you said earlier, people using the platform. People, sure, if you've got a platform, it's, if everyone can do what you're doing and put positive messages out there and vocalize for things that are important, the amount of change that will be made. And also, not only if you don't have a major platform, I always say that if everyone can make a change, no matter who you are or where you are or what you're doing, if every single person in the world just had the mindset that with whatever resource I have, I'm going to just try and make some form of difference, that's how the world changes. If everyone can do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to have a platform. I think just educating your family, your friends, people who are close to you. I keep hearing about, there's so much going on in terms of race relations in the world. And I know that a lot of people are having to have really difficult conversations with relatives who are just not getting it. And that's super important. You don't have to have a platform to have a frank conversation with your racist uncle. Like it's so important to just be vocal.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is great that there is movement happening in that area. And I was reading with Charmed how you were talking about how it's so amazing that the three main cast members with, 3 women of color, and with what's happening with, Black Lives Matter and everything else, it's so good that, and in film, I guess there's a long way to go, but we're seeing at least more of a push for diversity, and such an important thing, and it's needed to happen for so long. But yeah,
I know, and I think it's just like now it just needs to go further. It can't be just networks and studios ticking boxes on screen. It really has to be reflected inside and out. Diverse crew members, diverse writers and producers, and more Black creators, and giving them the space and the opportunity to create. Society has hugely benefited from Black culture, and we need to thank them and give them the space to thrive and really to be equal. It's just so much needs to happen. I like to think we've come a long way, but the reality is, like, it's just, there's so much more work to do.
A huge amount more to go, because like you said, it can't be just about ticking a box. It's got to be about a cultural change to the point where
A systemic change,
not,
yeah.
you know,
like we shouldn't be thinking about these things. It should just be a given that
A given, yeah.
there's equality across the board, and it's not. It shouldn't have to be talked about, but it is great that this change is happening. But like you said, it needs to become embedded in how society
absolutely.
functions. It's just like so. Hopefully, this is the beginning of that changing.
Yeah, agreed. I hope it is. I know
And-
a systemic change
Yeah.
has to happen. It's just about how we do that, and I think a lot of it is unlearning as well as learning. There's just so much
oh god, yeah.
to unlearn. Literally centuries of it embedded in people. So it's a huge it's a huge amount of work to do, but it's just like there's no other option. It's vital. It's necessary.
And it's so true what you're saying, unlearning. And I think people, change is so hard. Like it's uncomfortable to change, and that comes with fear, and it comes with confronting so many things. And we're taught, and on whatever level, whether it is that, and I always talk about how when I used to be so insecure and so closed off and so afraid of just any form of expression. And when I got into acting quite late, and I remember on my first day of acting school, the teacher said, the first thing we're going to do is you're going to unlearn what you've learned for the last 20 years. Because you sort of, even just on, a day-to-day level, we're taught that don't do this, do that, don't say this, say that. And if you buy into that, it conditions you to just become paranoid about just being yourself.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we need to unlearn.
Yeah, totally.
On so many
It's
levels.
very, very important. I think in terms of, the Black Lives Matter movement, and just race relations in general, I see, even within myself, like we really have to examine the biases that maybe we weren't willing to confront before, that you might not even be aware of at all. And to really like make a mindful effort to be aware of them and change them until it becomes, until it just changes, until it becomes, second nature
Yeah.
for everyone to be equal.
Absolutely. Yep. It's so important.
Yeah.
And I'd read you talked about with your character on Charmed how she's a role model for a lot of young girls. How important is it to you for your characters to, on a societal level, play that part and be a role model or get a message out there, and for the stuff that you're part of? Is that an important thing?
Absolutely. It's very important for me. I think I've been given a great opportunity to be, what am I trying to say? I've been given an opportunity to help people feel seen, along with my other two wonderful co-stars, Melanie and Madeline. We're three women of color carrying a show, and all I can hope for is to tell stories that impact people and to make the change and talk about things that maybe aren't comfortable. And I'm constantly having conversations with our writers' room about how can we confront the things that are going on in life in our show. How can we make it the most inclusive as possible? How can we make sure it's everywhere and not just on screen? And I feel very grateful to have that opportunity. And sometimes I'm sure there will be roles where I'm not exactly a role model, because those are fun too. But whether that may be playing a villain or whatever that is, but this role in particular is. I'm hoping that a lot of young women of color see themselves, I hope anyone sees themselves in my character, Maggie. She's wonderful. I think she's girly, and she loves fashion, and she's a girly girl, but she's also like hella smart and caring and empathetic. And I'm always of the mindset that we need to untrain people. I think there's a misconception that you have to be one or the other. You know, you're either the jock or you're the nerd, or you're the pretty schoolgirl, or you're the I don't know, the geek. Like, I just think that it can be, there's this duality within her that I love, because it's really me. It actually really is me. I'm these girly things, and I love makeup, and I love hair, and I love doing this and that, but I'm smart, and I am capable, and I'm empathetic and caring, and I love that about her. I love that she is all these things, and they're not mutually exclusive. So yeah. I don't even know what the question was, but that's something to me that is like very, very cool. It's a good opportunity.
No, I love the answer, and you know, people are complicated. Like, it's another problem with society likes to, you know, everyone has to be put in a box and categorized and labeled, and you're either categorized as, you know, the sporty person or the whatever it is, and it's just, people are more complicated than that, and it's crazy that we have to label everything. We can't just see, you know, enjoy things for what they are and accept different sides of things. It's like, and that's suffocating for people. You can't grow if you're always labeled and put in a box, and
it's impossible.
And it's also what causes a lot of so many mental health issues, where because of that labeling, then people think that I need to do X to be accepted, or, you know, through social media, people are fighting for how do I present an image that I'm doing this, or that I'm that, or that I'm achieving at this level, and then you compare to other people, and it's a never-ending thing that is almost impossible to like fully manage these days,
exactly.
With just how much is out there. It's like, I don't know how you know, unless you want to like go live in a cave, it's pretty hard to avoid, but
it's impossible to it feels impossible to tackle. I don't know how viable it is to really completely change that, but you know, through my work, I hope to at least show multifaceted characters. People are complex, so it's just natural to show that.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you feel like in the entertainment industry there needs to be more of a push to look after, whether it is an actor or singer or whatever, in performing, that we look after the mental health of performers? Because there are so many that struggle, and it's this crazy combination of, you've got these people that are very creative, so it means you're more prone to mental health related issues, and then where you're in an industry where there's often no certainty, and you're having to be completely vulnerable and get rejected and judged, and it's a breeding ground for mental health issues a lot of the time.
Absolutely.
Like, from my experience, I feel like there needs to be so much done in that area. Is that something you've seen through your experience in the industry, that it can cause you know, a lot of problems for people in mental health?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I have a very, very busy schedule to begin with. I'm working long hours. Have a hefty workload, and then on top of that, you know, I have my own personal stuff going on, and I have my own shit. I have mental health issues, and I think a lot of the times it's like, not pointing fingers at any specific production, but I think in general in this industry there's a tendency to just like brush it under the rug and be like, okay, we're robots, like you just have to keep going and push through it. But you know, eventually you'll reach a breaking point, and that has happened to me. And it's, you know, if there was just enough care gone in every day into ensuring that, you know, artists are getting the support they need, and if they're struggling, that they have resources. I think that's hugely important. I don't know if that exists in some arenas. I don't know if I don't know if certain productions have that, but I definitely have noticed that that's lacking. So it would be great to see more resources available for artists, and I think artists naturally suffer a lot more because they're so creative.
Yeah, it's so important.
Are there certain things you do? I mean, you're talking before about how you've, getting into meditation and things like that. Do you have certain things you do daily that help you that, maybe people listening to this might be able to take on board that just in general as well, just to sort of feel happier and healthier in day-to-day life, sort of certain daily things?
I mean, a huge thing for me that I was sort of saying earlier is meditation. I think I really undervalued meditation and how life-changing it really can be. For someone like myself, and I think most people, it can really just change the hardwiring in your brain. For me, intrusive thoughts are inevitable. They're a constant part of my day, and meditation for me has allowed me to change my relationship with the thoughts and how I react to them. And so putting time aside to meditate, whether it's through an app, I use Headspace and a couple other ones, or if it's just a sort of a self-guided thing or a body scan, that is something that I highly recommend if people haven't, given it a go yet. I also think exercise is hugely important. Something that I notice when I am exercising frequently, I don't know, I guess, endorphins are a real thing. It's very helpful for me. And when I have a very busy schedule and I'm shooting, 9 months out of the year, almost every day, I don't really have the time to exercise, and I notice a definite difference. Now I'm working out 3-4 times a week, and I feel really good. It just really helps me. So I encourage that, whether it's like, a yoga class or going for a walk. It makes a huge difference for myself, at least. And I don't know, I think just like putting aside time for yourself is a huge thing as well, whatever that might look like. For me, it's doing my skincare routine and then hopping into bed and having a cup of tea and reading a book. Like, for me, that is me time. And that's when I can kind of just focus on myself and decompress and let the day go, no matter how it's gone. So yeah, me time, whatever that might look like for you. You're a priority and you need to make that time for yourself. I guess the other thing I would also touch on is I think there's like a stigma around medication. I don't know if that's something that you've ever talked about, but
yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah, I think there's a quite a stigma around medication, and if you are struggling, I encourage you to look at all possibilities. Obviously I am not a professional in any capacity, but my psychiatrist and my psychologist have been life-changing for me, and going on meds is something that I think was necessary for me. And I just hope to break that stigma as well, because it's really no different than a physical ailment. It's like, some people have to take medication for high blood pressure. I have to take medication for my anxiety. Like, it's just really, I just encourage people to, I don't know, open their minds to it.
Explore all avenues. And and exactly what you're saying. And I think it's just such an important point that when it comes to mental well-being, it is an incredibly complicated area, and there's no one size fits all. There's no one-stop shop to what you should or shouldn't do, and people need to explore all avenues, and it might be a combination of things. Normally it is. It might be that and medication, there still is stigma with that as well. There shouldn't be. Like you said, it's like saying, well, if I cut my arm open, am I going to be judged to go and put a bandage on it?
Right.
Am I going to be
get
seen
stitches, or
as like,
it's what you do. If I've got a problem mentally, I've got to try and find a way to deal with that. I think that, yeah.
No, I was just going to say, it's literally, it's just science. It's chemical. It's not within your control. So, not saying that medication is suitable for everyone. There's obviously so many different kinds out there, but it is something worth exploring, because it definitely is something that changed my life, along with therapy. Therapy is just like, can't recommend it enough. I go to CBT therapy. It's like, it totally has changed my life.
Yeah, amazing. And yeah, thank you for being so open and sharing all of this as well, because it's sort of, I know it's going to help people hearing that, but
Yeah.
I think therapy, in general, everyone, even if you don't think you're suffering from and this is a big thing I talk about in mental health as well. It's sort of, we need to be, I mean, it's like saying I feel like I'm pretty fit and healthy, so I'm not going to exercise. It's better for us to do it and we'll feel better. You could feel like, yeah, I feel pretty good, but it would still, you can improve your mental well-being by doing things like what you talked about, by meditating, by trying to become more self-aware, like you were talking about with thinking, when we are having negative thoughts or our minds, telling us stories that we've repeated for years that we have now started to believe, you can't stop your mind from thinking, but what you can do is disempower those thoughts by being aware and thinking, you know what, no, I don't believe that, and I know right now I feel really uncomfortable, my mind's telling me this is what's going to happen, but I'm going to push forward anyway.
Yeah.
And if you keep doing that, you disempower the thought, and but we need awareness about all of this, and people should be just going and working on themselves mentally regardless. Like, it's just healthy to do.
It just really improved my quality of life. I imagine it would improve anyone's quality of life. I mean, provided that you find the right match for you and the right therapist, but it's just, gotta take care of yourself.
Massively. And I think I'd read you're pretty big in gratitude as well. Has that been a
totally
thing for you?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I gratitude journal. I started gratitude journaling last year at some point, and I was shocked at how much it helped me and put things into perspective. There's always something you can be grateful for, and putting it on paper and having to think about it is like huge, I think. I don't know. Have you done much gratitude work or anything like that?
Yeah, no, I do, the things you talk, the biggest one for me is exercise, and I come from a competitive sort of sporting background, and I just, exercise for me, it's like literally profound, where I could be having the worst day ever, and if I just go and move and train, my mind just opens up again. I meditate every day. I've been doing that for 10 years.
Oh my, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, got into gratitude about a year ago, and now every morning when I wake up, I just write down 3 things that I'm grateful for, and often it's even the same things every day, but it's such a simple thing, but it's so powerful. And just like we can find a million things to be negative about, we can find a million things to be positive about. And your mind doesn't have the capacity, if you're focusing on what you're grateful for, your mind doesn't have the capacity in that moment to be negative. So if we can train our mind to always be looking at the positive of a situation, you can condition yourself to, be the opposite of, where we can fall into in those negative pathways. So it's just such an important thing. It's
super important. Yeah, it had a profound effect on me pretty quickly. Yeah, even if it's just small things that I'm grateful for, it doesn't have to be big. Anything really is, like you were saying, it doesn't, you only have so much space in your brain for thoughts and feelings. So if you're focused on the positives, that's just gonna, squash the negative. Doesn't have any space to breathe in there. And our mind isn't meant to be thinking about so many. And sorry, I've almost down to just the final part, because I know it's got sort of getting close to an hour now. Oh yeah, no problem. Too much of your time here. No. But yeah, I think our brains scientifically are not meant to consume as much as they are now. It's just absolutely insane. And in the Western world, it's like what we talked about earlier, where you could have, this incredible life, an amazing family, amazing job, all the things that should tick all the boxes to make you happy. And you see this all the time, people that are incredibly wealthy or famous or whatever, all these things that society thinks will be the answer, and they're incredibly unhappy. Yeah. Because no matter who you are or where you get to, you can become the president of the United States, and I don't think he's very happy. I don't think he is either. Highly disturbed. But what you could get any level, if you can always find things to be unhappy about. But one of the biggest things for me, I've spent a lot of time in India and Africa, and just hanging out in local villages and talking to local people that literally had nothing. Like they would be lucky in a day if they can just go and get enough
food in their local community and water and, but they were, and you talk to them and you can literally feel it. They're so present and so they're happy. And I think it's because they don't have the luxury that we have over here where we can think, oh, maybe I want this as well, or maybe I want that instead.
Yeah.
Because of the circumstance, they literally have to think, well, I don't have the capacity to think about anything else. Nothing else is available to me. I've just got to survive and look after my family. That's all I can do. And so you're present and you enjoy and you appreciate things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Kind of goes back to like ancient times as well. We were like, when we were Neanderthals running around, we had survive, protect, and feed. And that's basically it. And now everything is so damn complicated. Sometimes I wonder what it was like for them.
I know, yeah. It just I think things need to be simplified, and I hope that that's part of what will come out of this coronavirus situation. That I think it'll sort of enlighten some people and give them an opportunity to be able to reassess things and look at what's important. So hopefully that is a positive that can come out of it.
Definitely, agreed.
Yeah. So I have a few closing questions that I finish every interview with. It's just 5 questions, and these can be short answers to these. But before I go into that, are there any things you would, for anyone listening to this, if they want to learn more about you or anything you want, I can put in the links, any causes or anything else you want us to link anyone to? I guess they'll hear it through the talk anyway. Yeah,
I would really encourage anyone who's listening to... for me, something dear to my heart right now is No Suit Up. So that's part of, like I said, it's an epilepsy foundation, and they're working with the Cameron Boyce Foundation. So yeah, if you want to link those or whatever, I'm sure people can find it. It's definitely, it's super close to my heart, and it's so vital to spread awareness and fundraise to research, because it's so unfortunate that people lose their lives to this, and I think it's something that needs to be afforded some more time and research. And I'm always, right now I'm trying to support as many Black artists as possible, and I have some information on my Instagram, and I have access to a couple great write-ups of Black artists who can support, so that'll always be on my Instagram if people want to check that out as well. But yeah, I guess that's about it.
Perfect, and I'll put links to all of these as well, so anyone listening to it, they can go to the links. So just final closing questions here. The first one, and it can be, whatever comes to mind, but the first one we go with is, what's your best childhood memory?
Ooh, what is my best childhood memory? I think probably the one that always comes to mind is I used to have this amazing cat named Gray. He was gray. That's why his name was Gray, and he came with the house that my parents bought. And he was just the most chill cat. And so me and my sister Hannah used to bury him and stuffed animals in a laundry basket. and he was just, loving his life, lounging there, and just let us play with him. And that always comes to mind, because I love animals so much, and he was a good one. He was a good egg.
That's so nice. And that's actually the one thing I forgot to ask you. I read you love animals so much, and big supporter of that, and you're vegan as well. Is that what I read? Did I read that right?
Yeah, I will say, I'm open about that, where, some days I will slip up. I haven't had meat in ages, but, maybe there's something that has dairy in it, and I will have that, but I eat vegan as much as possible, and it's important for people to educate themselves on what they're putting in their body, for sure. So yeah, that's another thing. I encourage people to watch a documentary or two, and I don't doubt that it will inspire change.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an important thing.
Yeah.
What do you think in the world right now is the biggest burden on mental health in society?
I guess the lack of understanding and the lack of information for sure. For me, I notice the most there's a lot of misconceptions, and I think a lot of people collectively have to come together to work on breaking that down. So for me, that's dismantling the sort of perception of OCD, and educating people on what it really is and the lesser known sort of subtypes of OCD, because it's so much more than just being organized or being tidy. It can really consume a person's life, and it did for me for a long time. So I really hope to open people's eyes to that.
Yeah, no, I think it's incredible that you're talking about that, and like you said, it can consume it to the point where, something that wasn't an issue, as soon as it starts to take over, that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where you just don't even know what you're worried about, but your mind's so far gone.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's hard. It's a cycle, but it's definitely possible to break it. That's therapy for me is the thing that is, really, really changed my life.
Yeah. Where do you see mental health in society in 10 years' time? Do you see things improving? Do you see there being sort of, more resources out there? Do you see sort of maybe a bit of both, in the negative and the positive? Where do you see things heading?
I would hope that there are more resources available and more funding going into mental health worldwide. Yeah. I think that is hugely important, and there's, particularly in the United States right now, obviously the funding is all going to the wrong places. So I would hope that there are more resources available for people who maybe can't afford it but are truly struggling and need the help. I also think that social media plays a huge part in people struggling with mental health. So I hope that kind of takes a turn. I don't know what it would be, but I really hope that we can find a way to continue using social media, but I don't know. I think it contributes so much to mental health that I hope maybe it changes a little bit. I don't know how.
For sure.
But,
it can be, it's such a, there's so many negatives that come from it. It's so big, but in the same way, it's a platform to be able to support positive things, promote positive things as well. So hopefully it can go more that way.
Yeah, exactly. I hope that in 5-10 years time that it goes more in that direction for sure.
For sure. What would you say is your personal definition of happiness?
I guess for me it would be accepting the peaks and the valleys. For me has been huge, and accepting that I will have dark times, and just having faith that I will come out of those. And just really being a kind person and the best version of yourself, to me, is just, it's so important. I think when you radiate kindness, that comes back to you, and then you can't help but be happy. And helping other people is huge as well. I think that for me has always been something that makes me happy, is helping other people. You're doing something for them, but you're also doing something for yourself. So yeah, I guess happiness comes in all shapes and forms, but definitely not like you were saying. I think there's this conception that it's money and it's luxury and it's cars and it's houses, but it's not any of those things really. So yeah.
No, I love your answer, and also, I think, and that's what I've found in, doing things where you're helping people, nothing makes you feel better. So even if people could look at that in, a sense of, what, I'm going to do it because it also makes me feel good, then it's going to it encourages, and it does, and who cares if people want to call that selfish? I don't think it's selfish. I think if it makes you feel good, it helps people.
It's mutually beneficial. Yeah, absolutely.
So final one, what's the most courageous thing you've ever done?
I think the most courageous thing I've ever done for sure is confronting my mental health and getting the help that I needed. I was in a very dark time when I was shooting a show in New York, and I I hadn't been in a darker time, and literally getting up out of bed was courageous. That in itself was courageous for me. At the point I was at, that was a courageous act. So me getting up and going to find the resources and sit down and have the hard conversations and find a therapist was by far the most courageous thing I've done, for sure.
I think that's incredible and such an important message. So I just want to say thank you so much for making the time to chat to me. I think it's amazing everything you're doing and that you've done, and and the sort of the insights you have at the age that you're at, and you should be so proud of everything you're doing.
You.
So I majorly respect what you're doing and just appreciate you making the time to have this chat today.
Thank you so much. Likewise, I think what you're doing is incredible, and I'm always keeping tabs, and what you put out there is, it's very inspirational. So kudos, props to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks so
absolutely.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.